one distinctive feature in the human cycle is the presence of menopause in females. As female humans age, eventually reach a point where new egg cells, new ova, are not being produced and fertility finishes. The ovaries are becoming less responsive to the hormones, and the remaining egg-generating cells, oocytes, will break down. And there are a number of associated physiological changes associated with this time as well. Other species, characteristically, females will be reproducing throughout their lifespan, although often fertility does decline in older individuals. It varies somewhat species to species, but you do sometimes see that. Why then? Well, this does go along with humans having rather long lifespan. We do happen to have some other things to do given our brains than just reproducing, so there is that aspect. Also, perhaps, given the very great extent to which humans rely not just on genetic information, but on information learned from others, that having grandparents and the potential care and training from them may be an important factor here as well. Okay, so getting sperm and egg together. What are the processes with fertilization? The sperm has enzymes associated with its front end, known as the acrosome, that will digest through the outer layer of the egg cell and allow the nucleus of the sperm to come in to fuse with that in the egg. This process triggers a number of chemical changes, and this makes the egg no longer receptive to a sperm coming in. You don't want to have multiple sperm trying to fertilize the same egg and producing some random number of chromosomes instead of the proper diploid pattern there. And then once the two sets of chromosomes come together, then we start going through lots of mitosis, normal cell division, and growth. Again, we'll have hormones playing a role if the developing young are retained inside the mother. Then this goes with the signaling between the mother and the babies in terms of regulating that pattern. So pregnancy and birth in mammals. Again, you also have a variety of other types of animals here and there that have some degree of young developing internally. There are a variety of reptiles actually that have this. Some snakes and lizards. You do see this in a variety of fishes and sharks. Also found, as I mentioned, there are snails, there are clams, there are various other organisms that take some of this approach. And with this, there are a variety of different patterns. How does the mother provide food for the young? In some cases, basically, there's an egg, it's just not been laid. And so the young are inside the egg, they are not getting any food from the mother, they're just being protected by being inside her instead of out on their own or sitting on a nest or something like that. So that's one possibility. So all the nutrients are provided in the starting egg, and once you're running low on those, then they're born. Basically, the egg hatches in the process of being born. Of course, in mammals, you have the placental connection where the female actually is able to supply nutrients through a connection to the young. And there are similar structures found in, say, certain sharks, certain snails. Various others have a approach like that. Then one other possibility is actually having something that the young can eat. This may be, for example, unfertilized egg cells, or in some cases, actually, ones that are fertilized and maybe even started to develop. You do have some things found in certain sharks and certain snails, various others, with sibling cannibalism, where the young developing, whether inside the mother or in an egg mass, will actually eat each other. And the ones that manage to not be eaten all the way to the end are the ones that actually hatch or are born, depending on your situation, and develop from there. Well, one problem with sexual reproduction is this does provide a potential means for transmission of disease as well. Now, of course, this is fairly straightforward to prevent behaviorally if you are not attempting to reproduce with multiple individuals, and this is not going to be a particular problem. Now, getting folks to actually cooperate with that can be a challenge, but in principle, the solution is rather simple. But you do have these issues in animals as well. For example, there's actually a couple of types of cancer that can be transmitted by contact that spread in dogs, for example, or there's one in Tasmanian devils that can spread through close contact between individuals, whether it's through sex or fighting or other close contact. Okay, so with fertilization, then we move into development, growing into the new adult individual. So development is a general term for the changes that take place as an individual grows from fertilized egg cell, in the case of animals, through the adult stage. So you'll have your cells dividing, mitosis, your ordinary cell division, making one duplicate copy of DNA and then dividing, so the two cells have the same DNA. And so as our starting zygote fertilized egg cell there divides, we get our embryo. Most animals' growth happens through cell division. We do have a handful, well, some of them pretty big groups, that certain types actually have a fixed number of cells, and then from that point it's just if the cells get somewhat bigger, but they only get a little bit bigger, there's a limited size there as well. Now, of course, we start from one cell, we're dividing, but as adults, or even not too far along as young individuals, we've got cells that are different from each other. So we have a process of differentiation. There are key chemicals that will signal, okay, this is the front, this is the back, this is the left, this is the right, those types of things. And then that tells different cells where they are, what part of the body, and what they need to develop into. So our starting cell grows into all the others. So totipotent, total, all potential, it can develop into all types of cells. Now plants, all their cells are totipotent. A plant cell can grow into a new plant. Now whether it will or not, and it doesn't always work when you try taking the leaf or something and seeing if you can get it to root and grow, but potentially it can. Animals, no. The starting zygote cell is totipotent. Depending on the species, certain other embryonic stem cells may exist that can develop into any sort of thing, but most cells, as we go on will be fixed for particular functions. So that starting zygote then cleaves, it divides, mitosis, many times forming multiple cells. Start out as a solid ball, but in animals, characteristically, this develops into a hollow ball of cells, known as the blastula. And distinctive for animals, and leads to further development of key features in the animal. Yolk is a nutrient-rich tissue, lots of food for the developing embryo, but, well, it's mostly there for food, so an area with lots of yolk, this does tend to alter the pattern of cell division. We have two major patterns, either radial or spiral.